Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. The personality of Godhead said. Veda. No. I am. Aham. I. Anta. Within. Manasi. The mind. Ipsitam. What you desired. Te. Your. Dadami. I give you. Yat. Which is. Tat. That. Durvapam. Very difficult to achieve. Anyayi. By others. Sate. In the sacrifice. Pura. In the days of yore. Vishva Shrijam. Of those who expanded this creation. Vasuna. Of the Vasus. Matsiddhi Kamena. With a desire to achieve my association. By you. Ishta. Ultimate goal of life. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. O Vasu, I know from within your mind what you desire in the days of yore, when the Vasus and other demigods responsible for expanding the universal affairs performed sacrifices. You particularly desire to achieve my association. This is very difficult to obtain for others, but I award it unto you.
I'll read the purport.
Please repeat. O Vasu, I know from within your mind what you desired in the days of yore, when the Vasus and other demigods responsible for expanding the universal affairs performed sacrifices. You particularly desire to achieve my association. This is very difficult to obtain for others. But I award it unto you.
Uddhava is one of the eternal associates of the Lord, and a plenary portion of Uddhava was one of the 8 Vasus in the days of yore. The 8 Vasus and the demigods in the upper planetary system, who are responsible for the management of the universal affairs, performed a sacrifice in days of yore, desiring to fulfill their respective ultimate goals in life. At that time, an expansion of Uddhava, acting as one of the Vasus, desired to become an associate of the Lord. The Lord knew this because He is present in the heart of every living entity as Paramatma, the superconsciousness. In everyone's heart, there is the representation of the superconsciousness, who gives memory to the partial consciousness of every living entity. The living entity, as partial consciousness, forgets incidents in his past life, but the superconsciousness reminds him how to act in terms of his past cultivation of knowledge. Bhagavad Gita confirms this fact in various ways. Yeta mam prapadyante tam sajaiva bhajamiyaham. That's Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, verse 11. Sarvasya chaham vidisani vishto mata smitir jnanam apohanam cha. 15th chapter, 15th verse. Everyone is at liberty to desire as he likes, but the desire is fulfilled by the Supreme Lord. Everyone is independent to think or desire, but the fulfillment of one's desire depends on the Supreme Will. This law is expressed as, quote, man proposes, God disposes, unquote. In the days of yore, when the demigods and Vasus performed sacrifice, Uddhava, as one of the Vasus, desired to enter into the association of the Lord, which is very difficult for those busy in empiric philosophical speculation or fruitive activities. Such persons have practically no information of the facts about becoming an associate of the Lord. Only the pure devotees can know, by the mercy of the Lord, that the personal association of the Lord is the highest perfection of life. The Lord assured Uddhava that he would fulfill his desire. It appears that when the Lord informed him by his indication to Uddhava, the great sage Maitreya finally became aware of the importance of entering into the association of the Lord. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunlitam Jena Tasmai Shri Rave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Didati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shriuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Sja Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatan Vitam Dham Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Vitam Sja Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Jayatam Surito Pangor Mama Mandamatergati Matsar Vasva Padambojo Radha Madana Mohano Dibyad Brindaranya Kolpajumada Shrimad Ratnagara Singhasanasto Shrimad Radha Shilagovinda Devo Pestalabi Sevimano Smarami Shriman Rasa Rasarambi Bamsi Bhatatasti Taha Karshan Venu Svanar Gopir Gopinatha Striye Snuna Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Brindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Mancha Kalpatarubhyas Ja Kripas Nubhyeva Cha Patidanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this is the final association. O Vasu, I know from within your mind what you desired in the days of yore, when the Vasus and other demigods responsible for expanding the universal affairs performed sacrifices. You particularly desired to achieve my association. This is very difficult to obtain for others, but I award it unto you. So as we were hearing, the Agyata Sukriti is being mentioned in verse 9 of Maitreya. To meet the Lord is not an ordinary incident. Maitreya was a great sage and a learned scholar, philosopher, but not a pure devotee of the Lord. And therefore his meeting with the Lord at that time may have been due to agyata sukriti, or some unknown devotional service. Pure devotees always engage in pure devotional activities, and therefore their meeting with the Lord is natural. But those who are not up to that standard meet the Lord. Those who are not up to that standard meet the Lord. When those who do so, it is due to the unforeseen fortune of accidental devotional service. So now, Krishna, he is addressing Uddhava, who we know very well, is quite the intimate devotee of the Lord. So today's speech by Krishna, the very final instructions, is also for the benefit of Maitreya. Prabhupada would give the example, easy example, and kind of a homey kind of example, that the daughter and the mother-in-law teaches the daughter-in-law by teaching the daughter. In other words, the daughter-in-law, the new wife to their son, is coming into the house and has to understand all the ways and means that things are gone about in the new house. So to not make the newly married daughter-in-law feel too upset or scrutinized, under the thumb, under the gun, in her presence, the daughter-in-law, the mother will instruct her own daughter, although the daughter knows very well how things are done in the house. But to show an example, and in a considerate way. So Uddhava knows very well about the value of the intimate association of the Lord being the highest goal of life. And this is instructive for all of us, and we certainly see this in the example set by our Srila Prabhupada, that he would speak and he would speak to who was ever present in such a way that it would be for the ultimate good of all concerned, and particularly for the person, if that person was a newcomer or it's a newcomer, and based on that, for the teaching of the disciples, how to preach to the newcomer, and also very careful to understand the mentality of the newcomer. For example, the different scholars, Ravindra Swarup Prabhu brought one Indian scholar to meet Srila Prabhupada in 1975, and this scholar was a rascal. It's a so-called Hindu professor, and Prabhupada opened up the discussion. What is Hinduism? Do you know? And the man said, no, I don't know. I've come to you for you to tell me. And he said, we have our Swarup Damodar here. He says he's teaching, but he does not know. What is your estimation? What is your opinion? He's a cheater, Srila Prabhupada. He's a cheater. And that was just an appetizer, just the opening, and then it got to the point. And ultimately, you don't need a guru. You need a dictionary definition professor. Get out. And Brahmananda Swami, it's time for you to leave. And all the devotees were very angry at Ravindra Swarup Prabhu. Why did you bring this person here? And you saw how angry Prabhupada got. And so Ravindra Swarup Prabhu describes how he stayed up all night. Oh my goodness, how am I going to apologize? I think there was a morning walk the next, or something, the whole day later, and Prabhu, Srila Prabhupada, I'm so sorry that I brought this professor, I didn't know. And Prabhupada just smiled and looked at Ravindra Swarup Prabhu and said, that's all right. At least he was chastised. And then there would be examples of scholars like Stilson Judah, who you see accompanying Prabhupada on morning walks in Venice Beach in Los Angeles. And even though he's an academic scholar, he understood, at least to some degree, the greatness and the position of Srila Prabhupada. And as sincerely as he possibly could, he treated Srila Prabhupada as a holy person. Somebody who was what was his name? Franklin and Marshall College. He met Prabhupada at 27th Avenue. He's your ever well-wisher. What was his name? Harvey Cox is Harvard. No, this is a different one. So,
Thomas Hopkins?
Thomas Hopkins, yeah. The Lord reciprocates with his devotees on the basis of transcendental love and not on the basis of philosophical knowledge or fruit of activities. In the transcendental loving service of the Lord, there is no place for monistic knowledge or fruit of activities. And of course, this very beautiful description of Krishna's most dear and confidential devotees. The Gopis in Vrindavan were neither highly learned scholars nor mystic yogis. They had spontaneous love for the Lord, and thus he became their heart and soul. And the Gopis also became the heart and soul of the Lord. What is it? 929, Bhagavad Gita. In the impersonalist philosophy, there's no reciprocation. But in the personalist philosophy, there is. The Lord and the living entity eternally glitter together. The Lord is like the diamond and the devotee is the gold band. Devotional service is not an activity of this material world, but is an activity of the spiritual world where eternality, knowledge, and bliss predominate. Lord Chaitanya approved the relationship of the Gopis with the Lord as supreme. Herein the Lord's attitude towards Uddhava was more intimate than with Maitreya Muni. But there's the purpose of the Lord, and especially even, we could even arguably say more, the ignorant perform activities and become attached, so the wise are advised not to unsettle them and waste valuable time. The devotees of the Lord are more kind than the Lord, and they know the inner purpose of the Lord. Therefore, they take all types of risks. It's a calculated risk, intelligent risk, not foolhardy risks, in approaching the fallen conditioned souls to engage them in the acts of Krishna consciousness, which are absolutely necessary for the human being. and it's most noteworthy, especially for us in this Kali Yuga, who is the Kali Yuga Pavana, the uplifter of the most fallen in this age of Kali, Lord Chaitanya and his bona fide devotees in disciplic succession. The last book published by the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust and shown to Srila Prabhupada in his presence in 1977 was aptly titled, in Srila Prabhupada's own expression, "Preaching is the Essence." That the attempt to give pure devotional, the opportunity for pure devotional service, pure love of Godhead to everyone is an expression and is the self-same pure abhiman or self-conception of the topmost devotees of Goloka Vrindavan. Golokera Prema Dana, the treasure and facility of the topmost form of love coming from Goloka Vrindavan has descended into this world in the form of the Sankirtan movement, the chanting of the holy names of Krishna, of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and as expanded upon by the disciples of Lord Chaitanya, beginning with the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, certainly down to the present day, transcendental book distribution, which is the expansion of the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Vidya Vadu Jivanam, bestowing upon one and all the knowledge of their eternal loving relationship with Krishna. So this is interesting. It's described that Uddhava, in days of yore, was one of the 8 Vasus and demigods in the upper planetary systems. They performed a sacrifice in days of yore, desiring to fulfill their respective ultimate goals in life. So, Prabhupada wanted us all to come together and cooperate in commonality as a community, yet everyone's individuality is still maintained, and the perfection, certainly, of individuality for everyone is to consciously decide that pure devotional service will be the ultimate goal of my life, my heart's desire. Everyone is at liberty to desire as he likes, but the desire is fulfilled by the Supreme Lord, the self-sufficient philosopher who's been fulfilling everyone's desire since time immemorial. Sri Upanishad. That is one of the great opulences of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is known as Satya Sankalpa. Whatever he desires immediately, well, according to his time frame, automatically becomes truth. Satya Sankalpa, desire. The Lord knew this, that he desired to become an associate of the Lord, because he is present in the heart of every living entity as Paramatma, the superconsciousness. So this is noteworthy, a very important preaching point of our Sampradaya, and Srila Prabhupada demonstrated it excellently to the Mayavad, the monistic, and we see even to date, because this Mayavad is always present, it's all one, man, we're all one, it's all the same. All this hippy-dippy kind of nonsensical talk, and presented to us, by the people that we meet. that, well, are you, the definition of God is that he knows everyone's consciousness. Do you know what I'm thinking? You only can know what you're thinking. He gives memory, the superconsciousness, to the partial consciousness of every living entity. The living entity is partial consciousness, forgets his past life, but the superconsciousness reminds him how to act in terms of his past cultivation of knowledge. So, meeting a spotlessly pure devotee, lava mantra, yes, when Maharaj Parikshit realized the great blessing and opportunity of Shukadeva Goswami coming to him, not just he, Maharaj Parikshit, which the disciple or the pilgrim should travel to where the spiritual master is, but in this case, the spiritual master traveled to be where he was. You see the memoirs of some of the first disciples of Srila Prabhupada. There's an interview just done a few days ago with Govinda Dasi, and she was explaining in her own life she was intensely desiring a spiritual master, and she somehow ended up in Haight-Ashbury from Texas, quickly becoming disillusioned with the hippie scene there, but somehow going through one of these kind of hippie stores, bookstore, trinket store. There were some of Roy Rama and Hayagriva's original 8.5 paper cut in half, simply black and white, first BTGs. No other color, just black and white, and the whole head shop is all these fluorescent lights and fluorescent pink and green and shocking colors all over. But she just found herself like a magnet being attracted and just looked and maybe read a few sentences and this is it. I met my spiritual master. And it said something about a temple which had just been opened 2 days earlier at 518 Frederick Street. And she went there with her boyfriend, and at the time, Gary, who later became Gaura Sundar Das, told Prabhupada all of their problems and all of their intense anxieties, which just seemed so difficult and impossible to overcome and to solve. And Prabhupada just smiled at them and said, you simply come to my classes morning and evening and all your problems will be solved. And they thought, this is an impossible solution, but because of the potency and grandeur and just amazing, unique greatness of Srila Prabhupada, they believed that it would be true when they did that. And the rest is history. Such persons have practically no information of the facts about becoming an associate of the Lord. Only the pure devotees can know by the mercy of the Lord that the personal association of the Lord is the highest perfection of life. So we say that by rendering service to the pure devotee, hearing from them, taking their association, taking their particular mission as our mission in life, ye prashade puri sarva asha. It raises one to the ultimate perfection of desire. What are you doing? It's making noise. Could you stop that? Or do it some other time? Thank you. The Lord assured Uddhava that he would fulfill his desire. It appears that when the Lord informed him by his indication to Uddhava, the great sage Maitreya finally became aware of the importance of entering into the association of the Lord. So, displaying pure devotional service for the people in general to see, not just only in the temple or the ashram, is so important, because there will be many different candidates or persons at various levels of who either later or sooner will come to understand the importance of Krishna consciousness and how Krishna consciousness is the topmost understanding of what life is all about. The importance of entering into the association of the Lord. And it's described in one place that there is an invisible chain of cooperation between the Lord, the demigods, and the devotees on earth. So the daily meditation on Srila Prabhupada today was very nice. If one is situated in real Krishna consciousness, he can face the most severe type of adversity and remain completely undisturbed. Prabhupada has said that a Vaishnava knows how to turn a disadvantage into an advantage. So, in the prayers of Queen Kunti, Prabhupada describes in regards to the four main type of opulences that make materialistic motivated people become intoxicated: aristocratic birth, bodily beauty, wealth, and so-called scholarship or intelligence. One becomes puffed up. The treatment of the physician is to decrease the fever, not to increase it by maltreatment. So becoming materially impoverished is actually a good sign, although materialistic people mistake this. So this material world, happiness in the material world, is a great illusion. So when events come about, many times offered by very demoniac-minded personalities, individually and collectively, this puts the population into great distress and danger and confusion. So what is it, that common saying? In the foxhole, there are no atheists. It's a World War I saying, maybe earlier than that. That you dig a trench and then you're there and you just pop out at the, when you think that you won't get shot, and then you shoot at the enemy. It's a very dangerous situation. So, when there's eating, drinking, mating, and defending in abundance and no danger, then it's easy for you to say there is no God, or that I just trust in my own sensual and intellectual abilities. But when you're facing, when death is very, very near and could be very, very likely, then the natural urge of the soul to seek the protection of the Supreme Lord becomes quite prominent. So, just as during Srila Prabhupada's time, for the young people, the very near danger of actually being put in the army and brought to a place where you're in a foxhole, the Vietnam War, we could even say that many of Srila Prabhupada's disciples, they were concerned about being drafted into the Vietnam War and saw this, and there was a practical way. Prabhupada got official minister status. He was recognized when he finally secured his re-entry to the United States from Montreal in the summer of 1968, and that his male disciples, his students, could write, why they are ineligible or disqualified for being drafted because of their religious, not just views, but they themselves adopting religious life under a bona fide religious minister. So if such things catapult one forward, then that's good. There's the example of one devotee, I won't mention his name. He was sent by Srila Prabhupada to assist his first disciple or two who he had sent to India, and that particular person went there and became, let's say, swayed or misguided by other types of association and made offense or left Srila Prabhupada's shelter and instruction. So we could all be performing the same activity, just as the 8 Vasus and the demigods, they all joined to perform a sacrifice, but each of one, they were doing it, and it says right here, to fulfill their respective ultimate goals in life. Prabhupada said, don't be surprised who leaves, be surprised who stays. So, what is it? This life as it was is offering a fight against material nature to achieve eternal life. To become restless in the association of wealth and women is not at all an astonishment, because one has been associated with these things from a very remote time, practically since time immemorial, and it takes time to recover from the foreign atmosphere. But the Lord helps those who help themselves. Prabhupada says that in one place, where the example of the little sparrow emptying the ocean one little beak full at a time to get back her eggs seemed like impossible, laughable determination. News of the little bird's activity spread, and finally the great eagle mount Garuda of Lord Vishnu heard of her activities and came promising to help, and he himself ordered the ocean to give back her eggs, lest he himself, Garuda, take up the work. At this, the ocean became afraid and immediately delivered the eggs back. So therefore, the little sparrow became successful by the help and grace of Garuda. And the maxim is, devotional service might appear like a difficult job, but for one who is sincere, success is guaranteed. The Lord helps those who help themselves. So we should be very careful in keeping our desires exclusively focused. Kevala Bhakti Sadma. This process of Krishna consciousness, devotional service, given to us by Srila Prabhupada, is certainly pure devotional service to the supreme degree. Tivrena Bhakti Yogena Yajeta Purusham. The unmixed, full sun is very, very powerful. So we simply stay in the sunshine. And Cheto Darpana Marjana, Bhava Maha Devagni Nivarpanam, all of the anarthas and all of the wrong desires will be removed. By rendering service to the feet of the 6 Goswamis, these 6 Goswamis, all obstacles to devotional service are removed, and my real desire is fulfilled. O Vasu, I know from within your mind what you desired in the days of yore when the Vasus and other demigods responsible for expanding the universal affairs performed sacrifices. You particularly desire to achieve my association. This is very difficult to obtain for others, by award it unto you. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments? Maharaj?
That professor that was in his group, right?
Yeah.
He met the guy 20 years later or something.
Oh.
And the professor said, "Do you remember that time I met your guru?" He said, and it was really boring. And he said, "No, it was so wonderful."
What? I
He
didn't
said it
hear.
was so wonderful.
Oh.
The guy was saying.
He loved it. You know, that's the problem. He just has some demon and everything else. He said, "We can't do this."
Here's an example of one that happened a little more fast. So Yashomati Nandan Prabhu describes a morning walk on Juhu Beach. And it wasn't Dr. Patel, but it was someone else. And it was a morning where I believe Prabhupada was criticizing Gandhi very strongly. And, no, that was a different incident, excuse me. It was just really blasting the Mayavad impersonal philosophy, and this particular individual became very upset and started like practically shouting at Srila Prabhupada, "Oh, you criticize everybody, and who do you think you are?" It was just like shocking. And the devotees were getting like, maybe we're gonna like do something physical. And Prabhupada said, "No, you stop." And he just let him go on and on and on like that. And then he finally quieted down, stayed on the walk. And then Prabhupada came back from the walk, and right there would be the greeting of the deities, Rasa Bihari, they're still in their temporary little cheap roof temple. And so the group puja for Srila Prabhupada was being performed, and devotees would come and offer flowers to Prabhupada's feet and then pay full dandavats individually before Srila Prabhupada. So this person, he just offered flowers and just fell down and just started crying and wailing and said, "I'm so sorry, please forgive me." And Prabhupada just like touched his head and said, "That's all right, that's all right." So the chastisement or that Prabhupada, or tolerating the offense, in this particular case, he understood that his the good heart or the good part of the person would bring him to the point very quickly of repentance. And Prabhupada didn't want to get upset with him at that time because he knew that that was going to happen. Whereas in the case of this professor, Prabhupada really took him to task and mopped up the floor with him. And that's very nice. I never heard that. The result is 20 years later. Maybe it happened earlier. He understood Prabhupada. Perhaps he was corrected, or he changed his impersonal understanding of things, or understood that, came to the point of understanding Krishna is supreme. So, pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada, very expert in understanding everyone's particular timing or everyone's particular situation, and knows how to prescribe the exact dosage and frequency of the medicine to bring us as quickly as possible to the highest perfectional stage.
So you were mentioning how, like, much everybody was being instructed, like a wife, a new wife is instructed
Yeah.
by her sister-in-law, getting instructed by the mother. So in Krishna consciousness, or like we shouldn't. I mean, that's one strategy the spiritual master may use, or Krishna may use, but we should. It's better if it can just be directly spoken, right? We should try to have that relationship.
The daughter-in-law arrives new in the house, and the first few days, week or two, month, But after that, it's expected that she's seen sufficiently what's happening and what's going on, what to speak of an instruction has been given, and then have to give the instruction a second or third time. So, you know, a brand new person just walking in the door is going to be given much more tolerance and carte blanche, so to speak, than someone who's been around for a while. And Prabhupada would be very, devotees would go to be where Prabhupada was and this and that. And one devotee was with Prabhupada in Mayapur, and Prabhupada saw something. Why is this like this? And the devotee said, well, Prabhupada, I'm not from this temple, and that's the wrong thing to say, you know. So he expected everyone to be alert, vigilant, and first class. You see something and you do it. Not that, okay, you're told to do it and I do it. I want to speak of third class, you're told to do it and you don't do it, or you know, and then fourth class, you like that. All right, so it's 9 o'clock. Thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Nita.